Okay, so your sunscreen may not be protecting you the way you think. A consumer advocacy group investigated about 1,000 brand names, and the study found that most sunscreens make false claims and possibly contain dangerous ingredients. Our chief medical correspondent, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, is here. Oh boy, this is nerve-wracking. This summer, our kids are at the pool almost every day. You slather it on.
Right.
So what do we look for to make sure that we're using the right stuff?
You know, when you really distill all this down, is that we're not sure that a lot of these things are dangerous, but we're not positive that they're safe either. And that's the real concern. You can say that about a lot of potential products out there, but the Environmental Working Group has done a few studies on this, trying to point out a couple of important things. First of all, you know, they looked at 500 different sunscreens out there, and after all was said and done, they came out with 39 on their approved list. And you can go to their website to find that out. Two things, really. One is that they say certain toxins, certain potential toxic elements could be in some of these sunscreens, and they might pose problems. For example, something known as oxybenzene. It's in about 60% of sunscreen. It absorbs some of the harmful rays. They say in certain mice studies it could potentially cause cancer. This is animal studies. Whether that translates to humans, that's always the big question. Another substance, retinol palmitate. You don't even remember all these names. It's again on the website. In about 40% of sunscreens. But again, it allowed tumors to grow faster in certain animals, again, in mice.
And here we're putting on sunscreen to cut down on the chances of skin cancer.
That's right.
And now we're talking about other types of cancers that we could conceivably be exposed to.
Right. And most dermatologists will say, look, it's still, you know, right now with all that we know, it's still better, obviously, to wear sunscreen to try and prevent some of these skin cancers for now and for later on in life, because some of these things can come up many years later. But there may be some more guidance necessary on what are the best sunscreens. And that's the real problem here. You know, for 30 years now, since the FDA has really looked at some of the sunscreen industry and tried to figure out what some of these elements are and are they safe. You know, we also talked to the Personal Care Products Council, oversees this industry and lots of others. They say this EWG, this Environmental Working Group report, is simply unscientific. They're not going with it at all. They say these are FDA-approved elements, and they're right. But it's 30 years ago. It's been a long time.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So now when I see a label that says SPF 100, 50, 30, all of these numbers, do those numbers have any bearing on some of these ingredients? Do I need to pay closer attention?
The best way to think about those numbers is that you're probably getting diminishing returns as you get higher. So, you know, you have certain numbers that people have SPF of 100 even nowadays. Yeah. It probably isn't providing you much extra. You can take a look at the numbers specifically in terms of what it does. You might get 1% or 2% more of blockage. But when you look at, you know, you think about sun protection factor, SPF. So if you have 15, what that means, Fred, is that it takes 15 times as long to cause a sunburn versus not wearing any sunscreen at all. But, you know, between 30 and 50, you're only getting 1% blockage there. And they're focused on UVB rays. And we've talked about this before, but there's UVA and there's UVB. Yeah. Most sunscreens just do UVB as well. UVA can potentially be problematic. So find a broad spectrum sunscreen, something that covers both.
And maybe, you know, when we lean toward the 50 or the 30, we're thinking, oh, we don't have to apply it as much. So maybe it's smarter to stick with the 15 because then you got to reapply.
You're absolutely right. People think, I got 100. So that's good, Dr. Freddie. I like that. We should consult. Yeah, but if you put SPF of 100, people think, oh, I could just put a little bit on. It's 100.
Yeah.
No, you got to put the same amount on. It's just going to give you more protection over the time.
Wow. All right. Thanks so much, Dr. Sanjay Gupta. I'm
also,
glad we're having
creams versus sprays.
Oh,
Use
yeah.
the creams.
Go for the creams.
So, yeah, spray you don't get enough on.
Yeah, okay. And it seems so easy, too.
That's right.
But that was probably the
Life
signal right there.
Easy.
It's not that easy. Got to work for it.
That's right.
All right. Thanks so much, Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Always good to see you.